Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam, asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. La'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah. La'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah. Okay. Again, we have another class in meditation and mysticism, and as always, the first thing we do is put a little bit of charity into your tzedakah box. To empty this out, so that people receive charity and the angels of charity bless us. So we've gone through a number of things. Last week we dealt with astrology. Orlando, can you turn down the light just a little bit? It's so bright in my eyes. I can't. I'm seeing colors even more if you can. Thank you. So Orlando takes care of everything. God bless him. So, and his family. So we went over astrology last week. We've gone over meditation, some of the triangular meditation. And next week we're going to do a lot more of the meditation and try and integrate some of the other things we've learned. Tonight I want to talk a little bit about what people generally think of as Kabbalah, but really to really explore it. So you'll notice that there's a page that looks like this in your handout. So I'd like you to please find that page. It's about halfway through. And it is called the Tree of Life. And I've put it behind me right here with a number of different understandings overlaid onto each other. So this, when you think of Kabbalah, many people think of this odd-looking chart. You see it here on the cover of Sefer Yetzirah, Book of Creation and Formation. But what is it? And why is it? Let's go back and remember that everything is based on the four-lettered name. Orlando, if we can turn that down even more. I don't know if it's just so bright. Is that okay? We still have, okay. Everything is based on that four-lettered name. And when we take that four-lettered name and we make it into a vertical image, we find an earlier image in your handout. That looks like, I think it's on page 7 or 8 of the handout. That looks kind of like this, right? If we take the human being and we overlay it on the four-letter name, it looks kind of like that. And again, please forgive my visual arts. My artistic talent is not so great. So I'd like you for a moment to take this image, which has all these colors and all these charts, and looks so confusing. We're going to break it apart and try and structure it and try and do it with this chart at the same time. So if you take a pen, whatever color pen you'd like, and you can see that there is a green outline here of the four-lettered name. So we're going to write right next to the chart, we're going to write the four-lettered name. So it looks something like that. The image right there. Okay? And what I'd like you to do, if you can, if you have multiple colors, great. If you have multiple pencils, great, is kind of put that name over these circular Hebrew words which you may know nothing about. Okay, and it looks again something like this. Okay, if you can see that image right there, if it makes sense. So let's just look at it for a moment based on this chart. So if we look, here is the human being, which we've shown before, but here's the four-letter name. There's the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, which connects everything, and the Hey. Okay? Our sages identify, both through a combination of text in the Torah, in the Tanakh, and through meditation, that there are 10 energy points, for lack of a better phrase. They are wheels. It says here in Sefer Yetzirah, and again, if we turn to the handout, we find the page on Sefer Yetzirah. And if you get lost on this, I ask that you please ask a question, because this is really difficult to do in this kind of medium of just streaming. There's a page that looks like this. This is the first chapter of the book of Sefer Yetzirah. This is where all this stuff comes from. It says, with 32 mystical paths of wisdom engraved God, engraved Yah, Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, the King, living God, King of the universe, El Shaddai, merciful and gracious, high and exalted, dwelling in eternity, whose name is holy. He is lofty and holy, and he created his universe with 3 books, Sfarim, with text, Sefer, and with number, Sephar, and with communication, Sapur. From that basic statement, we learn all sorts of things. 32 mystical paths of wisdom. What does that mean? Our sages determined an interpretation as it was taught orally, as well as through combinations of other texts, that this refers to 10 energy centers and to 22 pathways that connect them. Now, if you look at this chart, you see the green has the Yud, He, Vav, and He. But you also see 22 or 10 circles, excuse me. Those are the Sphirot. Those are, if you look in this chart, those big red dots. 7 of them are in the body. 3 of them are above and outside the body. Okay? I'm going to translate each of these from this image, from this page. Okay? Looking at the very, very top. Now, when we look at this, and I can't actually tell you why it started this way, but when we look at charts of Jewish mysticism, it's as if we're looking at someone from behind. So we probably need to light this up more, don't we, Orlando? So as an example, this is not this person's left side, it's the person's right side. It's as if he was standing this way, okay? Above our head, what we have, right now, just accept this is what it's called. We're going to understand why momentarily. We have what's called the keter, or the crown. On the right side, we have chokhmah, and that means wisdom. So if you're looking at this chart, the very top, right crown next to the Hebrew, and over here on the right side, right wisdom, which is what chokhmah means. On the left side, it says bina in Hebrew, and right understanding. These are 3 energy centers outside of our body. Then we start getting to the ones inside. It's kind of like chakras, if you're familiar with that, but much more detailed and much more of a connected way. In our right chest, right here, we have what is called chesed. Right there. It means compassion. Also sometimes called gedula, meaning the greatness. Over here on the left side, on the left chest, remember I'm going this way, the left chest, we have Gevura, which means strength. In the center, right here, that circle right here, that in martial arts is called the Hara. Here we call it Tiferet, which means harmony or beauty. The right hip is Netzach. Netzach's a really difficult one to understand. It literally means victory, but in the way that it manifests is actually through empathy in many ways. We have Hod, which is glory. This place right here, our genitalia, is called Yesod, the foundation, or secrets. And here at the bottom, where our feet meet the ground, is called Malchut, kingdom. Those are names. They mean nothing. So let's talk about why we got them, how we got them, and what they really are. If we look at the 4-letter name, and maybe it'd be easier if I just actually draw the 4-letter name for you. If we look at this 4-letter name, we see that there are points in it. Now, if we had to pick the point of balance, we'd probably say that point of balance for the whole thing was right there. If we looked at this as an architectural structure, right? That red dot is sort of the place that harmonizes the rest of the structure. So when our sages looked at this point and said, this is the center, the harmonizing spot, that's why they call it Tiferet. If we looked at this as a structure, as a building, we'd say that this space right here, I'll draw a blue dot, is the foundation of it. If you take off that foundation, the whole thing would collapse. So we call that Yesod. It is a misnomer. People think that this Yesod, which is in our sexual area, because they want to say, oh, sex is the foundation of our life. That's not why. It's because when we look at the structure of the four-letter name, that is where everything rests. The Vav rests there. And again, I know this is complex. I know this is challenging. If you have questions, you need to ask them either if you're doing this live, by streaming them live questions, or by emailing rabbi@nersimcha.org afterwards, and we can discuss them. So this is kind of where they start getting names from. The green is the four-letter name. The 10 are the 10 Sfirot. Now it says here in Sefer Yetzirah that there are 32 mystical pathways. 10 are the Sfirot, and then they are connected. This is a simple diagram of just the Sfiros and how they are connected to each other. There are 22 pathways that connect these energies sent together. 22 plus 10 equals 32. They also represent the 10 Sfirot are the numerals 0 through 9, and the 22 pathways are the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. There are 22 letters in Hebrew. And if you look at this chart carefully, this is actually, I believe, based on the Gaon of Vilna. If you look at it carefully, you'll see that each of the pathways has a different Hebrew letter attributed to it. We're not going to get that detailed into it. But this is both a macrocosmic and microcosmic model, both in the human being and outside. So now we have 22 pathways connecting 10 energy centers, 10 Sfirot, 10 wheels, for lack of a better term, in a multitude of ways. And we recognize that it's not based, the names that are not based on randomness. Again, if we look at this structure of the Yud, He, Vav, and He, right? There's the Yud, the He, the Vav, and the He. We see that that is the place of harmony right there. So we call it harmony or beauty, Tiferet. That is the place of foundation. We call it Yesod. Those are just some examples. Each one has a different quality. And when I say a different quality, they have a different flavor, a different feel when you meditate on them, and we're going to work on that. But one of the things that we do find is if you look at this drawing, we find that all of these have to do, I'm doing this backwards, okay. This is, forgive me. All of these have to do with understanding. All of these have to do with wisdom. This pillar in the middle has to do with balance. Okay. So they're different, like a different octave or a different vibration of the same energy, if that makes sense. So let's take an example. Okay. Chokhmah is out here, wisdom. Wisdom is outside of us, but we're aware of it. But as it starts to come inside of us, it creates a chesed, a compassion, that kind of feeling. As it goes down lower, it creates more of an empathy in some ways. If we look at over here on this side, we have Bina, which means understanding, right there. And a different octave of it was when you really have understanding, the ability to integrate your wisdom into an intellectual behavioral system, you have strength. And a even greater thing would you would have glory, you would have that kind of power. We see up here the crown, the part that connects us with God. And a crown is really, very important, just as an aside. The reason that kings have crowns, saying goes, not just in our culture, but in many cultures. And that the crown has points is so that the king and the queen can receive the manna from heaven, the inspiration, the guidance, the sustenance from heaven, catch it on the points of a crown and pass it to their ministers, their advisors, the parents, and the people, like a step down there. Well, it's a place of harmonizing. And so we have Keter that's above us, and then we have this place that's harmony, a foundation, and Malchut, where we actually interact when walking in the world. You can see that they're all kind of related on each of these three pillars, as it were. So to understand some of this, and I want to put it in a very practical way, if you've studied or if you've been to services, any person who has been to a bar mitzvah, any person who's been to a Saturday morning service, there comes a time when the Torah is brought out, and we typically have this chant. Adonai hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet Behanetzach v'hahod, ki kol b'shamayim ve'aretz. That's this. By name. Adonai, Hagedula, or that's Chesed. V'hagevura, v'hatiferet, v'hanetzach v'hahod. Ki kol b'shamayim, everything that is in the heavens is our foundation right here. Ki kol b'shamayim, the kingship where we connect to the earth, uva'aretz, and the earth. So these energy centers, which can be seen when you are meditating, you can see them in yourself and you can see them in other people when you soften your eyes and you're meditating. It is, if you dim the lights and candles and you've been meditating, you look at someone, it's relatively easy to see each of these places vibrating very specifically, like glowing balls. It comes from our text. Their names come from our text. Their names also are a symbol of how to focus things and how we can heal things. We see that certain things are connected to other things. We look at this chart again, or that document. We see that on the one side over here is Chokhmah. It's connected to Chesed. If I am having problems with compassion, I can draw down from wisdom. It's the real wisdom that God is always compassionate with us. We can see that there's this harmony place of Tiferet right there. This harmony place. If you are having an issue with one quality or another, you can balance it by what is in your solar plexus, as it were. Those feelings that you get. It also works on the human body. If you are having issues, as an example, if you're having stomach issues, you're out of balance. Your harmony needs to be worked on. Your Tiferet, the energy center right there. Let us say that you're having issues, God forbid, with your right shoulder. Okay. Well, we look and we see the right shoulder is Chesed, is compassion. Is your compassion out of balance? Are you being too compassionate? Are you not being compassionate enough? Our physicality and our emotional state are very, very related. And all that, again, comes from Sefer Yetzirah. Let us suppose that you're, God forbid, having problems with your left hip. So we look over here to Hod. All these different qualities are another way of balancing our body and our relationship with the universe. Again, I know this is so esoteric and so difficult, especially without having dialogue, so you can ask questions and we can really discuss this. A fabulous book on this is a book called Inner Space. It's by Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan as well. It really goes into a lot of this and teaches it in a simplistic and a good way. But this is, again, this is just a synopsis. Now, I want to show you something. If this is the human body, okay, God's flow is going to come in, if it's coming from the earth, from the sky, it's going to come in right here. This is an open spot, this spot in the hay. Does everyone see that? Right? There's a spot right there and a spot right there. They're open spots in God's name. They correspond to part of our body, this being our hips. Just to see how this manifests in Jewish practices. We eat kosher meat. And because Jacob wrestled with the angel and wrenched his hip, we don't eat any meat that has, meat's not kosher if it has the sciatica nerve in it, and if it comes from that hip. What happens is, why is that so important? Why is it so important to not eat that filet mignon? When you eat non-kosher meat, this pathway right here becomes closed, preventing the flow of God's consciousness into your lower part of your body. Again, everything is based on the four-letter name. So you can explore by just doing your triangle breathing and focusing on one energy center or another. And focus and see, does it have that quality of wisdom for me? Does it have that quality of compassion or balance and harmony? Those kind of things. And as you start to explore that with your own experience, then these words start to take on more meaning. I think that's much, much more important than being told this is Bina, this is Chesed, this is Hod, this is Netzach, etc. I think it's about personal experience. So what I want to encourage you to do is, hopefully for the last number of weeks, you've been doing the triangle breathing. Inhaling to a count of 4, exhaling to a count of 4, and holding to a count of 4 with your lungs empty. Now, focus on each quality. So look at this chart. This one, the one that has the names, I'll pull it out without the green on it, the green writing on it. I think I can do that. Look at that chart and look at where it goes and how that relates to the different parts of your body. And then from that part, Orlando, do you know what page it's on? That particular chart? Look at that, look at the chart wherever it may be. And direct your attention. There it is. Look at this chart, just like this, and direct your attention to each of the centers one at a time. Let's go over the names one more time for those who do not read Hebrew. At the very top is Keter, meaning crown. Or on the right side is Chokmah, meaning wisdom. Bina, meaning understanding. Going back across to the right, where the right chest is, we have Chesed. I'm going to make this a little easier on myself, actually. Page 10. Just so I can see that. So here we have Chesed, compassion, and Gevura, strength, right there. So Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet. That's what the name of, meaning harmony or beauty. Netzach on the right hip, Hod on the left hip. Yesod, private genitalia area, Malchut, where they connect, meaning kingship. Yesod meaning foundation. Again, the Hebrew and the English. Keter, on the right side above the head. Chokmah, left side above the head, which means wisdom. Bina, understanding. Chesed, on the right shoulder, right chest. Compassion, the left chest of Netzach, of Gevura, meaning strength. Tiferet in our solar plexus. Then we have Netzach on the right hip, Hod on the left hip, Yesod in the center, and Malchut in kingship. So, whether you want to look at it as the Hebrew words, or whether you want to use the English words that you relate to, crown, wisdom, understanding, balance, those kind of things, what I'd like you to do is take a few minutes. Hopefully at this point you're meditating at least once and hopefully twice a day for 12 minutes at a time, doing the triangle breathing and making that Magen David, that shield of David. What I'd like everyone to do is to try and take it to another level. So do the triangle breathing and just focus on one energy center. So I'm just going to focus here as I'm inhaling and exhaling and holding, as if my triangle is only there. Do it here, wisdom. Over here, understanding. Over here, compassion. Okay? And really take time to take the breaths and feel each of these energy centers and sense them. This is a process. This is not a pass-fail. This is a journey. For some people, you'll immediately feel them physically. For some people, you'll see them. In fact, you may even see colors associated with them. For some people, you'll just sense them. You won't feel them physically. You won't see them visually, but you'll sense them in whatever way. For some, you'll feel a vibration. And see how this one feels different, or has a different color, has a different vibration. But if this is a journey, it is open to everyone. As Rabbi Nachman teaches, meditation is the pathway that is open for every human being. If you take a few minutes, ideally 12, but a few minutes on each of these places. See how you understand them, how you feel them, how you integrate them, how you can feel them in your body. And then more so, that will allow you to feel that quality throughout the world, throughout the universe. Is someone typing in a question, Orlando? No, okay. Feel how this place, the solar plexus, is a place of balance and of harmony. But if you don't take the time to meditate it, you don't take the time to breathe and focus all your energy in one place, then all we're learning is dogma. People become dilettantes. People say, oh, I want to learn this, but I don't want to practice. What I am saying to you here is so, so important. You can learn all of the information in the world, and you can be a Kabbalologist, someone who knows all about Jewish mysticism, but knows nothing because you're not experiencing anything. Or you can combine simplistic meditative techniques to start to experience it yourself. Everyone has that ability. Everyone has that potential and that innate ability. This is just to give you a structure and to not give up. If you take the time every day, like learning an instrument, if you take the time every day to practice this, these will no longer be words. You will start to understand them on a physical level, on a mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual level. But I can't take you there. No one can. And anyone who says they can is a fraud and a charlatan. You have to do the work. So you can know all about it. You could look at these and remember and say, that's Keter and that's Hod, and it corresponds to that part of the body and that part of the four-letter name, and it's connected by that pathway which corresponds to that letter. All of that is entirely meaningless. It's just dogma. But if you take the time to meditate, it will change everything. Now, we've been doing for a few weeks this triangular meditation with the intention of just becoming more aware, more receptive. But if you take the time now and not just focus on receiving, but focus not just on breathing, but on being a very specific area, you will feel, see, experience, however you want to interpret it. You will experience and feel what that energy feels like and how it connects to other things. Again, this is an important question. Do you want to have someone just tell you this is the way it is, or do you want to experience it? So let's take an idea. For a moment, sit up and focus on doing your triangle breathing, which hopefully you've been doing for weeks now. So we inhale to a count of 4. And we exhale through our mouth to a count of 4. And we hold it. Inhale. Bombard the lungs first. Exhale with our mouth. And hold it. Inhale. And exhale. And hold it. Now, keep doing that as I'm speaking to you. Think about inhaling to your solar plexus. Like your whole body, your whole being is just a balloon in your solar plexus. We call it Tiferet, harmony or beauty. When you inhale, that you're taking that balloon that's right there in your solar plexus and it's expanding. And then when you exhale, that it's being taken out, that balloon is being emptied. And then when you're holding it, that you're just feeling it being there relaxed. So again, as you're doing your breathing, I'm going to inhale for 4 right into our solar plexus. Exhale and hold it there. Inhale. right there. Blow it out. And hold it. Again. Inhaling. Exhaling. Holding. Keep doing that? Are you more aware of that part of your body? Are you more aware of how your whole being coalesces and harmonizes there? To do that for 5, 10, 12 minutes each day, just each energy center. Now, hopefully you've just done that exercise. You're going to see something very different now. Yesod, foundation. It's the energy center right down here. On the chart, it's right there. It's your genitalia, that area. And actually, it's the place physically in your body between your genitalia and your anus. Sorry if that's rude, please forgive me, but that's where it is, that spot right there. So we're going to do the same thing we just did, only instead of focusing on this harmony place, focus on that balloon being opened up, that space, that part of our body being opened up. You'll forgive me if I don't start tapping there, but that part. So again, we're doing our triangle breathing. We're just receiving the breath, focusing on not inhaling, but being inhaled, not exhaling, but God taking the breath from us. Relax that whole lower part of your body. This time we're going to inhale as if the balloon is there. Yesod, the place between our anus and genitalia. So inhale. Blow it out from there. And hold it. And inhale. And exhale. Hold it. Inhale. And exhale again from that place. Yesod. Hold it. If you're watching this live and you feel motivated to, do a thumbs up or type if you can feel a qualitative difference between when you're focusing your energy on Yesod, the foundation, or on Tiferet, the balance. Does it feel different? Does it feel larger, smaller, more colorful, a different color, vibrating differently, easier to access? Whatever your comments may be. That's why this is so difficult to teach online. Wherever your comments may be. You want to do with each of those energy centers. This will allow you to experience this Yud He Vav He in your body. And this image that you see all the time in these magical rabbi Kabbalistic drawings will help you maintain and experience it in your own being. Did anyone respond with that? Orlando? Okay. And it will allow you to really feel it. It's so, so important. This is a big exercise. Now, next week, we're only going to do meditative exercises. But I will tell you, if you're not practicing the meditation throughout the week, then the videos that get into meditation become useless. That's just the honest truth. This is to experience why so many people touch and learn about Kabbalah, but Jewish mysticism, but they don't really explore it, don't really do it. So we're going to go into this a little bit more intensely next week, and hopefully you will have meditated on a regular basis. I want to go through one other concept today, this evening. I'm going to erase my ridiculous piece of art because, as I told you, I'm not a particularly good artist. So hopefully you've gotten that. There is another understanding in Judaism of how to interpret the words of Torah and how to interpret life. The term is gematria. Numerology. Chaldean numerology, which you may have learned or studied, comes from the Hebraic understanding of gematria. Gematria is the idea that every letter has a numerical value as well, corresponding to its place in the alphabet. So in English, it would be like A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, etc. In Hebrew, Aleph equals 1, Bes equals 2, I can't print very well, equals 3, Dalet equals 4, A equals 5, and so on. Okay? Now, why is this important? If I write it out in English for you, it'll be a little easier. Aleph is 1, Beit is 2, Gimel, for those of you who do not read Hebrew, is 3, Dalet is 4, Hey is 5. Why is this important? It gives us another understanding, a deeper understanding of words. It gives us a deeper understanding of the letters. Now, Sefer Bahir, Helena, would you please toss me Sefer Bahir? It's the third book down on that book underneath Jewish Meditation. Thank you. Sefer Bahir specifically goes into how letters are constructed. So we talked about it the first week. As an example, an aleph has the value of 1, but this is what an aleph looks like. And you can split the aleph into a vav on its diagonal side and 2 yuds, right? Yud, which has the value of 10. So you would have 10, 10, and 6. So aleph can equal 1. It can also equal 26. It's also in your hand. And Sefer Bahir breaks the letters apart. But there is a more interesting understanding, not more interesting, but a more practical and simplistic understanding. I think the books are up here. Bear with me for a second. This is a 2-volume set. This is a more simplistic 1 volume. We'll use this for a moment of gematria. So let's talk about how you use the numerical value of letters. Let us say that you have let's say that we want to say love. Love has a numerical value of 13. Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, Vav, Aleph is 1, Hey is 2, Hey is 5, Bet is 2, Hey is 5. So the word Ahava equals 13. It's numerical value. It's 1 plus 5 plus 2 plus 5. If we found other words that have a numerical value of 13, it would give us an insight into their relationship with love. This is a book that has main words in Torah and the numerical value. This is a 2-volume set that has every phrase and word in Torah arranged by numerical value. But this is as an example. It tells you, you look up the number, it tells you many words. So I'm going to give an example so you just get an idea. Let's say that your Hebrew name is Moshe. Okay, which is spelled Mem Shin He. Or sorry, again, I don't do printing very often, so if you don't forgive me. We're printing Mem Shin. We count in numerology in gematria 1 through 10, and then we go 20, 30, 40, 50 till 100, and then we go 200, 300, 400. And if you look in the very back, I believe, of your handout, there is a numerical chart for that for you right there. Okay, right there. Very last page, I believe. So Mem has the numerical value of 40. Shin has the numerical value of 300. And Hey has the numerical value of 5. So this has the numerical value of 345. Okay? If I look up in this wonderful resource book, What things equal 345? I find, and it tells me the source as well in this book, that 345 also means to count. It also means pomegranates. Harmonim means the legs, means Moshe, obviously Moses. It means things like that. And it has a whole list here. So if my name was Moshe, I might take a look at how that affects what my relationship with pomegranates are. I might take a look at what fountain is also a word here, what my relationship with fountains are and how they affect me. This is another way, when we talked in astrology last week, this is another way of deepening your understanding of your name, understanding of Torah, understanding of any phrase. This is discussed, this kind of gematria is discussed in Talmud multiple times. It is an accepted, this isn't some new age, whatever, it is an accepted way of interpreting and understanding. So as an example again, if we look at the number 370, just 370, so I want to do 376. Look here. If we look at the number 370 as an example, we find that it means both herbs and grass, and it also means where we dwell, and it also is the value of the word seven. Any of those, again, it gives me an idea of how to rest in grass. These are all just different ways of deepening our understanding of Torah. You may or may not find interest in it. You may find interest in terms of if you have a head that likes numbers, to combine this gematria. But what I want to encourage you to do is the same basic idea. Explore what different words mean, explore the numerical value, see what other numbers correspond to that, and see if it deepens your understanding of life. If you're not into meditating, but you want to try and experience kind of a different understanding of life, explore gematria. But I really want to recommend that you choose to explore it. If you don't, it's an entire waste. If we take as an example the word Adam, which is 45, we find that Adam also means all of humankind. It also means your brethren, the numerical value. It also means like his brother. It also means where they come when they go in. Again, things to help us understand. It also means ma, which means what? It's a question mark. Things to help us understand Adam better, understand Shabbat better. All those different things. And most important, if you want to play with the gematria, you have a chart at the back of your handout. The point is, whether it's astrology or whether it's gematria or whether it's a sefirot, that is just information. Excuse me, I just need to. Whether it's gematria, whether it's astrology, whether it's the sefirot we just learned tonight, that's just information. Until you meditate with it, if it's the sefirot, until you choose to do your own astrological reading with the astrology, until you choose to use your numbers in your brain to understand things more deeply, it's just words, people. And it really has no meaning. If you explore it, if you choose to really explore any of these ways, whether it's numerology, these energy centers, whether it's astrology, if you really explore it through focus, intention, meditation, what we call kavanah, meaning intention, it will have meaning. That's why I even started teaching this class a few weeks ago. And again, it's very difficult. It's almost impossible to do this online. But it's why not to learn about Jewish mysticism, but to experience the deeper connection with God. That's why to do this stuff. If you're just watching the video and not practicing or exploring, don't bother watching the videos anymore because it's a waste of time. But if you're willing to explore, then explore fully and deeply. And if you do, I guarantee things are going to open up for you in your life. I guarantee it. But you have to experience it and not just learn about it. So my prayer for all of us is that we choose to really experience meditation. We choose to practice our triangle breathing, focusing on the Sefirot now. That we choose to kind of maybe do our own astrological reading, our own numerological reading. You have the tools in this handout. We have Shabbat services on Friday evening. And next week, we will kind of try and tie all of the stuff we've studied over the last number of weeks together. Again, remembering it's up to you. You can learn about something or you can explore it. But I will tell you, it is true that there is all the difference between watching a full fight and watching a bullfight and being in the ring. There's all the difference between listening or learning about Jewish mysticism and choosing to explore it on a personal level. So I hope you will really work that this week so that next week we can try some other exercises in a deep way. If you have any questions, please email me at rabbi@nersimcha.org. You can also send it to events@nersimcha.org. They'll forward it to me. And I hope to see you on Friday night and next Monday as well. Thank you and shalom.